everyone, welcome to Karchermakes. I'm Andrea, a serial crafter here in South Central PA, and today we're just going to talk about all things crafty. So normally I try to record and upload every other week, but I've been a little busy the past couple weeks and time just got away from me, but here we are. The good news though is I have plenty of stuff to show you. I have some finished objects, some works in progress, and I also have some stuff from my weaving class that I took last week. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. So I talked a little bit about this in the last video, but I did get it completed. So this is the Dustland Hat by Stephen West, and the yarn I used is from Schweitzer's Fiber Mill. It's a locally milled yarn. They're in Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania, which is fairly close to here. And it's 100% merino DK weight. It does not say that this is superwash, so I'm assuming that it's not. It does not feel like superwash either, so I have to remember this when I go to wash it. Now, this isn't blocked yet, but I do think you can get a sense of all the different stitch patterns and texture that this project by Stephen West has. So I did have to make a couple modifications. So the hat, as you kind of progress, there's a stitch pattern, various stitch patterns, and then they're separated by these sort of rows of garter stitch, and then it's another stitch pattern and then rows of garter stitch. By the way, I accidentally did an extra one here. That was not an intended modification, but maybe relates to why I had to do what I did with the length. So there's all these little garter ribs breaking up these textured stitches. And as I was getting to like this area, I was realizing how long this hat was going to be. And if you look at the pictures on Stephen's page, right, it's very slouchy. And I do like a slouchy hat, but I felt like at this point of the project, at this point of the hat for my size, it was going to be way too long. So what I did was I just modified it slightly, and I removed quite a few of the garter kind of repeats as it worked into the crown. And basically what that did was it created a shorter crown, shorter length in this area of the hat, and made it much less slouchy on me. So I really like how this turned out. This yarn is phenomenal. I think I mentioned in the last video, I had picked this up at Maryland Sheep and Wool last year, intended to make this hat, so yay me. I bought yarn, I intentionally made what the plan was. That doesn't always happen, but I picked this up. It was in a bargain bin at Maryland Sheep and Wool at Schweitzer's, and I'm hoping that they have it again this year because this is some really great yarn, and I think it would make a really nice sweater as well. Again, this isn't blocked, but I think you have a sense of what's going on here. I'm not going to put it on because it will make my hair become a mess, and nobody wants to look at that for the rest of this video. Now, the question that I have for y'all, and please comment below and help me with this decision. I have this faux fur pom-pom that I picked up from Rising Tide Fiber Company probably 5 years ago. Like, it was well before the Panakuchen. So this nice little faux fur pom-pom. Are you team pom-pom? Are you team no pom-pom? How do you feel about pom-poms on hats? Now, the good thing is it's just a ribbon to attach it. So like I could put it on here, and if I don't like it, I could always take it back off. But I can't decide if I want this hat to have this pom-pom on it. So give me your opinion. Let me know what you think. Are you team pom-pom or are you team no pom-pom? Let's chat. So next up, another finished object. I know, who am I? All these finished objects, it's only a couple. I finished the Scrappy Crochet Basket, and this is by My Poppet. She's on Instagram, she's on Ravelry, My Poppet. And this was done with 6 strands of fingering weight held together, all different colors. I kind of tried to do, I guess, like a fade-ish situation, going from the greens and then up into the blues and the purples. But one thing I would change about this, speaking of modifying patterns and changing patterns, is it's kind of floppy. It's kind of floppy, and I used a size J hook for this. So I think what I may do next time, and kind of wish I did this time, is either add 2 more strands of yarn and hold 8 strands together, or use a smaller hook to make it a little tighter. Now, when I was working this, it felt very tight, but now that it's kind of off the hook and it's just kind of floppy. So I think it'll still work for holding leftover yarns and all that good stuff behind me. And it can also kind of act as a purse too. It would make a nice little cute purse, cute yarn purse. But I feel like I would want something a little bit more structured, a little bit more stable as far as like a basket is concerned. So maybe I'll make another one. It's not like I don't have plenty of scraps and plenty of leftovers to do it. Let's talk socks. So I have a couple pair of socks here that are in progress. And the first pair here are, I'm digging them out of my lovely little Orioles bag here. The first pair are the Speckled Space Socks, and this is a pattern by Amanda Stevens. And I talked pretty at length about this yarn last time, but I'll just kind of mention as a reminder, this is Rising Tide Fiber Company, bird watching. Of course, it's Orioles themed, and if you're new here, I'm a big Orioles fan. I love the Orioles. But love how these are turning out. Now, some other things that I mentioned in the last video that turned out to be incorrect. Look, we're all learning together, right? Every day's a new adventure. We're all learning together. So I said in the last video how this is a toe-up sock that I'm modifying to be top-down, because although I can absolutely learn how to knit a toe-up sock, I just don't want to, and I wanted to do it top-down. So I was reading other people's project notes on how to do that, because I've never done that before. And I mentioned that, instead of, doing it from the chart, and I can show the chart, it's a free pattern, I'm not giving anything away here. But instead of doing the chart from the bottom up like you normally would, right? You would start here, work your way over, work your way up. Instead of doing that, to convert it to top down, because this is a directional pattern, right? It makes these lovely little chevrons. Because it's a directional pattern, I still want them to face towards the toe. I would have to start at the top and work my way down. Now, all that to say, I did that at first, and it didn't work, and I was very confused. My little chevrons were not facing, so these are basically a 1x1 cable, these kind of traveling cables here that make up the chevron. They were facing in the wrong direction. So this one was going this way, this one was going this way, and it made no sense. So I went back to Ravelry, back to project notes, and realized my mistake was that not only do you have to start the pattern from the top down, you also have to reverse, because this is a directional design, you also have to reverse reading left to right versus right to left. So instead of starting bottom right, I needed to start at top left. Once I figured that out, everything was smooth sailing. And here we are. I am gonna start the heel next. So I haven't decided what kind of heel I wanna put in this. So this yarn came with 2 minis, an orange and a black, of course, because Orioles, orange and black minis. So I think what I want to do, instead of heel flap and gusset, I think I'm going to do a short row heel, and I may do the shadow wrap heel on these. Maybe a fish lips kiss heel. I haven't done one of those in a while, but definitely going to do a short row heel. And then those will be on their way. Okay, the next sock pattern, and this one's very sort of in the beginning stages. So this yarn is, and I still don't understand the reference, so if you know, please leave a comment below. This is Cesium Yarns, and the colorway is called I'm Setting Booty Traps. It's hysterical. I like it. I just don't know what the reference is. Like if it's from a movie or a song or something, I don't get it. But it is this really pretty red orange with this purple kind of variegation running through it, and I just thought this was so pretty. I picked this up at Frederick Fiber Fest last fall. So that's that. And so I had intended the Speckled Space Socks to kind of be my let's go to the bar, watch the game, and knit on these socks type pattern. But again, once I started it and realized that, one, it's a charted pattern and I don't really want to be dragging this around with me in my purse, I realized I should just probably start a simpler set of socks to kind of take along with me, my purse socks, if you will. So I pulled this one out, and it's just 2x2 rib, a little pop of purple, which this purple is the leftovers. It's purple I dyed this. It's leftovers from my Stephen West Contrast Blast socks, which was his mystery sock along last year. P.S. Can't wait for it this year. I don't know when he plans on doing it. He did say he is gonna do it, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm ready. Let's do some socks, Stephen West. So did a little pop of that purple there. I thought it went well with this yarn. And as far as the pattern goes, like I mentioned, these are purse socks. This needs to be something that I don't really have to think about, but I also didn't want to do just plain stockinette because this color's so pretty. It deserves some texture. It deserves a little bit of excitement, right? So here's what I did. And you can kind of see the very beginnings of it here, right? It's this little textured pattern. I went back through my bookshelf here, and I have a couple books from Barbara G. Walker, and these are basically stitch dictionaries. She calls it a treasury of knitting patterns. It's a stitch dictionary for all intents and purposes, and I have a couple of them. This happens to be the first one that she came out with, probably, I don't even know, in the 60s, 70s, forever ago. 60, I believe 68 it says. 68. So what this is again, it's just all kinds of stitch patterns and how to make them. And if you're interested in doing any sort of your own like design work or anything like that, these are the books that you want. I think there's 4 of them in the series. There's 4, and they're all different colors. But these are invaluable for stitch dictionaries. And what I did was I just kind of went through, and I knew I wanted something easy, simple, memorizable. Like some of these patterns in here, there's no, like look at this one. Look at this one. There's no scenario I'm memorizing this. So I kind of stayed in the front of the book, which is really just basic stitches. And I chose the double seed stitch here, which is really quite similar to, if you saw my videos on the pocket socks, it's really quite similar to that, where I was doing a 4x4 stockinette purl checkerboard situation. It's kind of similar to that, except it's 2x2, really. I mean, it's no more complicated than that. And it's called a double seed stitch. But that's how that's going, and I just think it's so pretty, and it's a nice little texture to easily keep going, and these can now go in my purse, and you know, I'm talking, I'm trying to eat, trying to watch a game. These are very easy to kind of keep up with. And these, by the way, are living in this bag, and look, I'm swearing friendly, I'm potty mouth friendly, so if you're not, look away. I'm not going to read this to you because in case you have little ones listening, but this bag, I love it. I love it. Look at it. This is from Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel, and I got this at Needles Up in 2019 from her, but I love it. And it's me. It's definitely me. Okay, the next work in progress that I have is the Mystery Knit Along by Imagine Landscapes, and it's another gnome. So let me grab them. So at Christmas time, I did these little mystery gnomes with Imagine Landscapes, and I saw that she was doing another one called Gnome News is Good News, and ain't that the truth? So the first clue dropped yesterday. No, not yesterday, Thursday. Today's Saturday, April 20th, by the way. Happy 420 if you celebrate. But the first clue dropped on Thursday. The second clue dropped today, but I haven't looked at it yet. And again, with the gnomes, because I've only ever done those two, which now he's falling over. Because I've only ever done those two, I'm not like super familiar with like the construction and the pieces. So I'm making these and I have no idea what they are. But clue one, and by the way, if you haven't already completed it or seen it, avert your eyes. But clue one has these two little pieces. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Are they hands? Are they noses? I have no idea. They look like little Easter eggs to me. So we did that on Thursday's clue. And then also this little provisional cast on garter stitch situation. That's all clue one was. These two pieces and this. I have no idea what it is. No clue whatsoever. Talk about a mystery. So the yarn that I'm using is, does this look familiar? Did we just see this? This is more. This is more of the purple leftover from my Contrast Blast socks. When I tell you guys that the 2024 is the year of leftovers and scraps for me, please know that I mean that in the most sincere way. I'm trying to use up these leftovers. So I'm using this. I'm using some bare leftover sock weight that I had, and I'm using this self-striping from Desert Vista Dye Works, and this colorway is called Zombody's Hanging the Lights, and it's, I'm not sure if it's going to show up too well, but it's a sparkle base. So I just thought that would be neat. Work on another little mystery gnome. It gives me something to work on while I'm having my coffee in the morning, something to look forward to a couple days a week as the little clues come out. But yeah, so stay tuned for more. Let's all learn together what these pieces and parts grow up to be. So I thought I was done talking about the works in progress, but then I remembered I wanted to talk a little bit about the progress on my Times Cardigan. How could I forget this? How could I forget it? So I mentioned in the last video how I wanted to have this done so that I could wear it to Maryland Sheep and Wool. It's not gonna happen, y'all. It is not gonna happen. I grossly overestimated my ability to make all of these tiny little squares in a fast manner. So I did the math, and it is mathematically impossible for me to finish this in time. But I did get a whole other row done, and now I'm gonna try to hold this. I'm gonna start splitting for the sleeve and the front. So basically what that is you start building out a row, a column here, and then a column here, which basically is going to build the front of the cardigan. So that's the progress there. It's slow going. I'm still trying to do at least 2 blocks a day. Not being home for a week probably affected that the most, just not being able to work on it every day. But I'm gonna try to continue to work on it. I still want to get this done. By the time I do get it done, it's gonna be too warm to wear it. It's gonna be summertime. But I did just want to share the progress on that. I'm still loving it, and I think it's gonna be epic. Okay, so that's all I have as far as the knitting and crochet content for this week. But if you're interested, and if you're not, like, thank you for joining me to talk about my works in progress for knitting and crochet. Don't feel like you have to stay here and listen to me talk about weaving if you're not interested in it. But if you are interested in it, by all means, let's chat about it. So last week I spent the week at Redstone Glen Fiber Arts Center, and they are somewhat local to me. They're like 40 minutes up north from me, and they do a lot of weaving classes, some spinning classes, and then they're also going to be doing later this summer, which I'm taking, a sewing for hand weavers class. And I took beginning weaving there last summer with Tom Nisley. Just phenomenal teachers, like amazing. So what I took this time was kind of the second part in that series, in the beginning weaving series, and it's called Warp and Weave. And it was actually with his daughter, Sarah, who is also like, she is such a great teacher, so patient, so kind, like tells you these little tips and tricks that you wouldn't otherwise pick up, like even with just simple ergonomics of, hey, if you hold it with your left hand instead of your right, it makes it more efficient to thread your heddle. Just little tiny stuff like that, which I find amazing. But anyway, so spent the week there, and the class structure was very much sort of choose your own adventure. She kind of left it open for each of us to kind of explore what we wanted or needed to. So all that to say, my goals were to get more practice with warping the loom, like making the warp, dressing the loom, because I'm still like, every time I do it. I've done it twice on my own outside of classes, and like the entire time I'm anxious about whether or not I'm doing the right thing. And what I've learned is that anxiety was well placed because I was not doing the right thing. Like it worked, but it wasn't the best way to do it. So I wanted to get more experience with warping and dressing the loom. And then I also wanted, as like the actual weaving part of the program, I wanted to experiment more with supplemental weft, and I can explain what that is. So the way the class was structured is that we first planned out our project, and then from there, you know, we got onto the looms, we dressed everything, and I used a pattern book that they had in the studio, and I'm sorry I don't recall which one it was, but it included a lot of supplemental weft type projects. And let me kind of show you what I mean by that. So this is just, several of these are like just little mug rugs, little coasters that I'm gonna cut apart and make right now. It's just all still fabric, but this is what supplemental weft looks like. So basically you're doing a plain weave, and a plain weave is just over, under, over, under, over, under, right? But then you, as you get up, you add in these different picks with a different treadling pattern, but then you secure each row with a plain weave row. And if you guys want like a deep dive on this weaving type stuff, I can absolutely do that. Just ask, leave a comment below. But in any case, this one made all these kind of little stripes and hearts, which I just thought was so sweet and so cute. this one, love this one, made these little trees. And for this, the only thing I changed, the only variable that I changed was the tie-up. So it was the same warp, the tie-up changed, and then the treadling, what shafts I was raising for each pick changed. So 2 variables changed. Same threading though, but made those little trees. And then this one's my favorite, and you'll know why if you're not new here. This is gonna be a little wall hanging. I still need to obviously cut it apart and sew it and stuff, but these little rainbow flowers, look how fun they are. And this is it's just weaving, and it's really not that difficult, honestly. Once you kind of understand that weaving is really 3 variables, which is your threading, your tie-up, which is how you attach your shafts to your petals, and then to do the treadling, and then the order in which you push those petals to treadle. Once you kind of get the concept of it being that kind of 3 variable thing, actually 4, because you know the yarn and the weight of the yarn is also a variable. But once you kind of understand that, like, the possibilities are endless. They are truly endless. But yeah, so I made that, and then I still had some warp left, so I just did a couple more little mug rugs, and these are just various kind of point twills that I experimented with. This one I started and I didn't really like how it was turning out, so I changed it. And this is what it is. And then if you look at the back, it looks completely different, which is so interesting to me. So yeah, that was the first project in the weaving class. And then, like I mentioned, I'm taking a sewing for hand weavers class there later this summer. I think it's in July. And as a part of that class though, you have to bring store-bought fabric to practice on, which is good because I'm gonna need practice because I am not a great sewer. But you bring the store-bought fabric to practice on, and then you bring your actual woven fabric, and we're gonna make a project. I think there's an option to make like a tote bag, which is probably what I'm gonna do because it sounds easier, to be honest. But I chose to have my second project in that class be the fabric for my next class. So I made, this is plain twill, and I just chose to do this kind of black and natural. I used the same yarn as I used on the other ones, but it's this natural, and I paired it with black. And I just did random plaid, totally random. When I made the warp, I warped off the same number of threads, both natural and black, same quantity. And then as I was slaying the reed, I just put them in random order. And I tried to keep them in sections of 4 because a twill is a 4 kind of repeat. But one of these I messed up, so it's not completely like that. But anyway, so I made this fabric, and it's this lovely plaid, and I think it's totally awesome. I think it's gonna make a great tote bag or whatever it is that we're gonna end up making. I think it's gonna work perfect for that. I still need to wash it, and so in weaving, it's not called blocking. So like in knitting and crochet, we call that finishing process, where you wash it and maybe pin it out or lay it out. That's blocking. In weaving, it's just called finishing. So I do need to finish this. It'll need to be washed. It'll need to be ironed so that it's all ready to go for that sewing class later this summer. But yeah, really enjoying the weaving stuff. It's really fun. And you know, if you get an opportunity to try it, definitely try it. Don't be intimidated by it. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something. If nothing else, maybe you learned how to correctly convert a toe-up pattern to a cuff-down pattern for socks. And I just really enjoyed sharing these projects with you today, and hopefully you enjoyed hearing about it. And if you enjoyed this, give it a like. Feel free to subscribe. It's free to do so, and it just helps YouTube understand that you're interested in this kind of content. That would be great. And until next time, happy making.